I think shoulder and neck pain is a common one because we spend a lot of time in positions, either sitting on a chair, either a sofa or car seats that are not designed to fully support the curves of our spine. So you might have heard this before as you were growing up. Sit up straight, stand up straight. And it's kind of a myth because there's really not one straight bone in our body. So if you look at a skeleton anatomically, we are upright for sure. We stand on two legs, but there's really no straight bones anywhere in our body. Every bone has a curve built in. And especially the way our spines align, they have multiple curves. And when we think of being straight, what happens is that we tend to disappear those curves that are natural, that support our posture. So part of the issues that we see these days are that the head hangs low because we're looking down at our phones or even books or working. Yeah. And then the head is about 10 pounds. So the pulling forces happen all around our neck. Thin layers of muscle begin to work extra hard to keep our faces from falling on the ground. Yeah. And our whole body to fall after. So that creates an imbalance both in the muscles of the neck and in the muscles of the lower back that begins to work like a pulley to keep us from falling forward. Yeah. So how do the movements of the eyes come into play here? Why are they so important? Because the eyes, if you remember from the last time that you rode a bicycle, or if you ski, or if you ride a motorcycle, the eyes have a very, very quick effect in the positioning of our spine. The spine is 24 bones and they connect the head to the pelvis, and the eyes direct what the spine does. Yeah. So if you were, say, skiing and you were looking at a fence that you don't want to hit on the right side, before you know it, your whole spine is turning to the right and you're headed straight to where you don't want to go. Right? So they say, look to where you want to go. Yeah. In the same way, we can use the power of our eyes to lift our head, and we can use the power of our eyes to look down even if our head is up. So we could bring whatever we need to have forward to the level of our eyes. Yeah, so that's one very quick use of this. We're going to use that awareness through movement in a little bit, and you will feel in a way quieter environment where you're not just processing what I say, but experiencing in your body how exactly that works. But I want to give you this concept at the very beginning because we need to understand what are we doing so we can do what we want. So what are we doing today? We want to do two things. We want to decouple, we want to separate the movement of our heads from the movement of our eyes. So we know that we can be safe by keeping our head upright while looking down or while looking sideways. And we feel safe being able to do this as we walk, for example. Because I'm going to tell you the truth, even though I tried to, every time I use a phone, lift the phone to the level of my eyes, so I'm not creating that effect that I told you a moment ago, it's really hard to do because conditioning is so strong. So we tend to do this, and it's okay. Now, what happens if you can once or twice remember to do that? Well, you're making a dent on it. And what happens if when you're walking, for example, which is so much of the time that you spend during the day walking from one place to the other or standing, you remember to keep your head upright and feel safe to look down and not look down. Yeah, to be able to separate the movement of the eyes from the movement of the head, then it frees up a lot of muscle strain here and muscle strain in the lower back. And over time, it becomes a new way to walk, a new way to stand up. And the awareness of the uprightness of your spine changes over time. So that's what I want to work with today. And to support that, we're going to use the tongue. And the reason why is also very similar. The tongue is innervated or connected to the spine in a major way. And I don't want to go into the details of how, because otherwise we'll spend the whole day talking. I just want you to know that when you move your tongue in different directions, your spine is moving too. And it's such a mystery to most of us. We never use these movements. And when you start practicing, you will feel the difference. So we will do that in just a moment. so you can experience it for yourself. If you are not familiar with my work, please go check it out on my page. I have a lot of recordings. I have breathing practices and meditations. If you haven't followed the page, please do. And if you haven't shared it with anybody, please do too. So then more people get familiar with my work and I can serve more of us, which is my intention. So the practice today, I would like it to be in sitting and also lying down. So we're gonna go from lying down to sitting, just so you can bring it into life. So if you can find a place, and I'm gonna give you a moment right now to find that place where you can have room to lie down. Maybe you have to bring your iPad or your phone to the floor and put it somewhere. You don't need to see me for the practice. I will just be guiding you with my voice. So nothing to really look outside of yourself right now for the next, say, 20 minutes. So a place where you can hear me is enough. A place where you feel safe and uninterrupted. So the pets won't distract you or the phone won't distract you. That would be ideal. And then we're gonna go from lying down to sitting on the floor. And if that's not comfortable, please have a chair nearby. So you can come up and sit, and we're gonna work in sitting towards the end, and that will be the end of the practice. And the reason I always wanna bring us back to sitting or standing and remember what we did on the floor is because when you lie down, your body goes into a different state. That's why relaxation is done in lying down. That's why regression work, massage, all kinds of work is done on your back. Your nervous system relaxes almost 90% when you're lying down, so it's much easier to work with the brain and reprogram certain things when you're lying down. You're not in gravity, so a lot of muscular work also stops. So it's a beautiful place to work. And then if we don't make the connection to sitting or standing, it's harder to do to really use this in life. Yeah, so I don't want to leave that up to chance. I want to make sure that whatever we learn on lying down position, you can do it also in sitting, and you can also do it in standing, because most of our life is spent in gravity, standing or sitting, okay? Or of our waking life. All right, that was a long speech. If you have any questions, please save them for the end, because I do leave time for questions in the end, and I answer as much as I possibly can. So please find that place now where you can lie down and make yourself comfortable. You can remove any jewelry, glasses, belts, anything that may be in the way of your movement right now. And be sure to be warm enough and comfortable enough in the clothing so nothing is restricting your movement or distracting you if you get cold. So socks and sweaters are wonderful for this type of work. Today we're going to explore about 20 minutes, 25 minutes of Feldenkrais awareness through movement together. And first of all, I would like to invite you to sense your body as it rests on the floor, as if you were just lazily lying down on some warm sand, making an imprint. So the weight of your body can be felt by your attention. And notice as if you are paying attention to a drawing or a painting or an imprint of a stamp on paper, that maybe some areas are heavier, wider, have more pressure, more contact, and they feel a little different than others. So let your attention wander and trace, for example, the shape of your right leg, the weight, the pressure. Compare with the left leg. You're gently curious, going from one to the other. Not comparing to the side, one leg is better than the other, just noticing the differences. Perhaps you notice there's more pressure or contact under one of your glutes or one of your heels. And sense the weight of your pelvis on this imaginary sand, a surface that takes in your weight. So if you were to breathe and relax and release even more weight to it, it will take it. It would absorb it, it will receive it. And now sense the contact of your whole back on the ground. Again, noticing any differences between right and left, your ribs, your shoulders. If your arms are long on the sides of your body, notice the shape of your arms and their weight. And maybe that in your experience, one arm feels a little longer or heavier, maybe lifted a little higher than the other. And right now, all you're doing is noticing, scanning, mapping, without judgment, without any change necessary, or wish that anything was different than what it is. You're just gently observing. And see where does your attention travel next, following the shape of your neck as it connects your shoulders to your head. And what is the exact place where your head and the floor meet? That point of contact of the skull, the back of your head. And with the next breath, please take in your whole body shape and all the differences in pressure and contact that you can perceive at the same time. Sensing your two legs, your two arms, your spine, the length, the width. And gently now, please let your attention go to the soles of your feet and gently bend your legs and stand your feet on the ground so your knees are bent. And place your feet about shoulder width apart so your legs are held in place without much effort. You can play with the distance between your feet for a moment and take time to find that ideal placement for your right foot and your left foot so your spine can be even longer on the floor. You can release your lower back to the ground and let your legs hold you. And now very gently, please, allow your attention to shift to the position of your head in space and on the ground, and notice if your head is slightly turned to the right or exactly over the middle. If you were to draw an imaginary line from your nose to your belly button, would that line be slightly over the right side or over the left side, or perhaps exactly in the middle? And now please let your attention notice the contact between your teeth and see if your jaws are tight, and see if you can create a little space, unlocking or unclicking your teeth and letting more room inside your mouth be available. And now sensing where is your tongue, and if your tongue likes to stay towards the right or towards the left, just let it be free inside your mouth for now. So your tongue doesn't have to be in any particular place. And now very, very gently, as if you were moving underwater in some type of soft medium like honey or molasses, let your eyes move a little bit towards the right and back to the center line. And your hands at this time can be free and your arms can be long. And just let your eyes go to the right wherever they can, and see that they move inside your sockets, and at some point maybe they want to bring the head with them, if that's possible for you. So you let the eyes go to the right and come back to the center, and see how much movement is possible, is free. That your eyes go to the right, they might take the head or maybe not, and they come back. And when they come back, they bring the head back with them. And if your eyes are open, you can see what you can see on the ceiling. Maybe you see a straight line, maybe you see a curve. So just notice what is present again before we change anything or learn anything new. And let the movement be as large as it wants to be, without effort, without resistance. So if it feels easy, you can keep going. And the moment that it feels a little damp, a little stuck, you stay there. You stop there and come back to the neutral place. And breathe along this path. Maybe you do the movement 3 or 4 times and you're just connecting your eyes to your head, to your breath, to your attention. Beautiful. And take a rest now. Pause. You can keep your legs bent. Sense and feel. Now I'm going to ask you to please, if it's possible, if your hands are okay with this and your arms are okay with this, place your left palm on your forehead as if you were holding a cup. You know, sometimes you hold a teacup from both sides and you're holding it. Yeah, so you're wrapping your head around your forehead and all your fingers are together. And see that you can use your hand now, your left hand, to move your head to the right just a little bit. And your fingers can stay stick or glued to the head. You stick the fingers to the head and let the fingers move the head as if you're rolling a rolling pin or a cup between your hand and the floor. And just again, going very, very gently to the right, noticing what is possible. Do not push the limits. Don't go too far. Don't create any strain for your shoulder. Your shoulder is moving passively. You're just taking the head to the right and back. And see that the eyes can follow. So in this case, the eyes don't lead, the eyes follow. The movement begins from the hand. The hand moves the head moves to the right, the eyes follow. And you can do that a couple times as you breathe. Beautiful. And now place the arm on the floor and take a moment, couple breaths, reset, and then do the other movement, the one we did a moment ago, where your eyes lead, the eyes go first, and the head follows. And at this point, this is such a minor movement, right? It's so little that you may think, what is this doing? What is this actually for? Right now, you're becoming some sort of a detective of your own body, and I would love you to please stay with that image for a moment. And you're some sort of Sherlock Holmes of your own body. You are a Columbo, whatever image you have of a good detective. So you're spotting changes, you're spotting clues. And I would love you right now to pay attention or become curious about the difference in your head and neck between these two possibilities. And I know it's very subtle, but I know you can do it. So pay attention. How does it feel different? And you can use your eyes open or closed. What is the difference between the eyes going first and the head follows? So you're thinking, well, my head moves and my shoulders may be moving a little bit, my neck is moving a little bit. So notice, right? The quality is more important than the quantity right now. So not so interested in how far you can look really, but how does it feel? What is the sensation? What becomes easier? And you're comparing that movement, and then you putting the hand on the forehead and then letting the eyes move last, and then the hand moves the head and the eyes go last. And you're sensing the difference between that. For me, for example, as I do it, when my hand goes first, when the head goes first and the eyes go second, my eyes jump My eyes tend to just be so curious about where we're going that they go from front, boom, all the way. They jump. This is what my brain is doing right now. And then when I look first with the eyes, it's a more smoother movement, as if I'm scanning some sort of horizon. When you go to the beach and you see the ocean, the horizon. So that's my own experience. See what is yours. What do your eyes do? What does your head do? Your neck, your breathing. Again, you're a detective looking for little clues, meaningful clues, things that are relevant to you, to your experience, knowing that everything is right. Beautiful. And now let that go. Please rest. Put your arms down. If your eyes are beginning to feel a little tired, you can rub your hands, create some warmth on your palms, and then place your palms over the eyes so you rest them. That's always really nice. You cover your eyes with your palms, blocking all the light without putting pressure on the eyeballs. Just letting the eyes rest in darkness. And breathing and sensing. And if your legs get uncomfortable, you can lengthen them, you can bend them again. And just remember the differences. Whatever you came up with in your exploration, just make a mental note of that. And now the next time you feel ready for moving, allow now your tongue to be free inside your mouth. And as you do the same two movements, we're exploring these two movements for now. The eyes first, turning the head. Of course, you may feel more things moving, right? Shoulders, ribs, even the change of the weight on your pelvis, totally possible. And we're most interested right now in the tone, the muscular tone, and the effort in your neck, in your eyes, in your head. Yes, so now what is the difference between going with the eyes to the right first and letting the eyes move the head? If your tongue is also participating. So for this one, I'd like you to please let the jaw be free and the tip of your tongue go inside your right cheek. The tip of your tongue, if you need to put your finger on the right cheek to see where that is. And notice if it gets any easier the moment that your eyes and the tongue go to the right first, and then your head follows. Just that little change, increasing the awareness as you breathe. Of course, you cannot do this if your teeth are tight, so this is wonderful to relieve any tension on the jaw. As if you want to get some food out of the cheek there. Could be so tiny. So slowly. Good. And now come back to the front and put your left palm on your hand. Left palm on the forehead. And now do the same thing with the tongue, but let the movement begin, the movement of the head begin at the hand level. So it's the hand moving the head with the tongue to the right, everything to the right, and the eyes follow. I know it's a little movement. And you can move slowly, and you can do 3 or 4 repetitions. And notice if overall it gets easier the moment your tongue is involved. If there's a sense of more freedom, less work, maybe something gets a little heavier in a good way, where you feel less tension. And now let that go and make a note to yourself, mental note. Is it easier with the tongue or without the tongue? Is it easier for you to move the tongue in this way, or does it feel that there's tension there? And then let it go, rest for a moment, Cover your eyes if you need to. Gently pausing, integrating, letting your body sense what it needs to sense right now. Letting your attention wander. And as you prepare yourself for the next movement, bend your legs again, stand your feet on the ground. And this time, place your left hand on the forehead. Again, as if you're rolling a pin or rolling pin or a cup. So the head and the hand move together. And now open your eyes and keep your eyes fixed on the ceiling somewhere. So you look up, straight up, and just move the head to the right, but let the eyes stay glued on a point on the ceiling. And this movement may be a little smaller, maybe a little more challenging. So do less if that's the case. Make sure your teeth are still free. So your head is moving to the right, but your eyes are fixed in the front. And notice if that's possible, if that's easy. And make sure you very, very gently make pauses between each movement. To try something new, perhaps using your tongue could be one exploration. Taking your tongue inside your cheek to the right, seeing if that changes anything. Maybe one time with the tongue, one time without the tongue. Excellent. And as you come back to the center, now let your eyes move again. So the next time you try this movement, you let the head and the eyes go to the right together. A couple times, even though you're moving the hand and the head and then the eyes. See if it's a little easier once we decouple the eyes from the head. We let the eyes and the head move in separate directions. And now let the tongue participate. So the head, the eyes, the tongue, everything to the right. And now put the hand down and just let the eyes lead. So the eyes move to the right and the head follows and maybe the tongue follows. Everything to the right. And maybe let the eyes go back to the center so the eyes lead also on the way back. And rest again. Maybe warm up your hands and place them on your eyes so they get a nice block from the light, and you can rest them in darkness and imagine that black space that you feel or see under your palms is velvet, some sort of wet black or dark blue, velvety texture. And that as you see more and more dark space there, know that that is the quality of your nervous system right now, that the darkness represents that calm electrical activity, and the flashes of light and the color is nervous system activity. So if you get to see more and more dark, that's a good sign. You're getting calmer and calmer. Breathe, sense, feel what's available. what's possible, even just these new concepts that we're exploring may create some learning for you. And now very, very gently let the hands come down, and we're going to explore one more variation to the right, and then we're going to pause, and then we're going to come to sit. So slowly now. Slowly now. As you begin to take your head to the right, and please, you can use your hand for this one. Put your hand on the forehead and take your head to the right using your hand. Take your head to the right and your eyes to the left. Take your head to the right and your eyes to the left. Couple times. You can keep your eyes open, it's easier. Head to the right, eyes to the left. And notice if there's effort anywhere. And where does the effort get trapped in your own body? Maybe you're holding your breath. Maybe you're clenching your teeth. And see that you can give permission to yourself to undo that effort, release it. So if your teeth get tight, you unlock. If your breath is held, you breathe. Because we're exploring something very unfamiliar. We rarely do this. We're taking the head and eyes in complete opposite directions. So it might create a little tension somewhere. It's perfectly normal. So notice it and then let go of it. Yeah? And see where else. Is it your belly, your fists, your feet? Where do you clench when you're faced with something new? And notice and let it go. Good job. And now let the eyes again go to the left as your head goes to the right, as far as you can easily without pushing it. A couple more times. That's good. And stop. And breathe. And rest. Put your hand down. Close your eyes for a moment. If this was not easy for you, you can do it again, and it'll get easier and easier. And now let your eyes go first and take the head to the right, following. So everything together, and you can use your tongue as well inside the mouth. Head, eyes, tongue, everything to the right. And maybe if you feel exploratory, if you feel curious to see how easier can this even be, you can lengthen the right leg and just see what else moves. Don't do anything with your feet, but just by not having the right leg up, so you can make the right leg long, keep the left leg bent, and only doing the same thing, taking the eyes to the right, the head to the right, the tongue to the right. See that maybe one side of your body feels longer and closer to the ground than the other. Because now that your head and eyes are free, they're moving your spine to the right, they're moving your shoulders back towards the floor, and your whole right side gets a little closer to the right. Can you feel it? Great. Beautiful. So now slowly, slowly, slowly come back to the center. You can lengthen both legs. Take a moment to sense and feel the differences. At this point, we might notice, guys, big differences between the right side and the left. So please notice if one side of your face feels bigger than the other. One eye may feel wider, longer, fuller. One side of your body may feel longer. So now very, very gently, as you return to the neutral position, I'm going to ask you to please come to sit in a way that feels easy for you. So you basically either bend your knees and roll to the side, or gently roll, spiral up. Hopefully not spring up, but find an easy way to come to sit. And sit on the floor or sit on the chair in a way that you are able to move. So it's either one leg in front of the other, one leg behind you. Maybe you sit on your heels. Maybe you sit on a chair, and that's the easiest way. But sometimes when you sit cross-legged, it's hard to move too much from there. It's almost like a static position. So gently come to sit. And now we're going to practice this in sitting. And we're going to do it to the right almost 90%, and then we're going to do it to the left. But you will see how much easier it is to do to the left towards the end. So now, first of all, with you sitting, just open your eyes and look around you. Look with your eyes only and see that your eyes move very freely to the right, maybe more than to the left. And let the movement of your eyes initiate a turn to the right. So again, the same thing we just did. And be patient with this, lazy, almost as if you're moving in slow motion. What is the difference? Take the eyes to the right first, just the eyes, and let the head follow. And then allow your tongue to come into the movement, so you let the tongue also push inside the cheek. And if you feel that anything is being held forward, like your shoulders, just give it permission to move. Don't necessarily move it in a big way. Just say, hey, shoulders, you can move. Hey, ribs, all good here. You can move. That kind of playful permission. And now maybe if it's easy for you, take your hand and just fingertips, just light touch. Let the hand move the head and play with that difference. Now that your eyes and the tongue are connected, what is the difference if your eyes go first, and then if your head goes first and the eyes are kind of stuck in the front and then follow? Or if they're stuck in the front and they stay stuck in the front and just the head goes. So even those three possibilities, right? The eyes going first, and then the head, and then the head. Or you reset in the middle, and then the head first and the eyes are stuck. So the head is moving independently from the eyes. We do this a lot. What is the difference for the breathing, for the spine? What feels better? What feels more efficient? And then when you decide to change and explore the third option right now, this, what is it like when the head goes first and the eyes follow? Is it more of a whiplash? Is it more of a jump? And if you were to choose one of these three as the best feeling one, we want more than one option, we know that, but if you were to choose which is the one that feels the easiest for you right now, pick that one and do that over and over again. In sitting, just reaffirming to yourself, this is most efficient for me right now, because when I look first with the eyes, oh, there's a lot of ease here. And plus I feel like I'm scanning a lovely horizon. I don't have a rush. Definitely getting the eyes stuck in the front doesn't work for me, because I feel like I can't move so much and it kind of hurts me. So again, it's biological optimism, right? You're learning how to do something that feels good, so then you will seek it. You will do it again because it felt great. Versus just having an option. Maybe it doesn't feel good, but I don't know what else, so I do that. It becomes a habit. Good, so now that we're experimenting a little in sitting, see if you can take your head to the right and the eyes to the left, just for fun, and just see that is possible here. And that decoupling of the head and eyes is very important, and we're gonna use it in different directions in just a moment. But just a couple times, the freedom of the eyes inside the skull. If this is not easy for you, I recommend you do this again gently until you get to the point where you can do it. It's little movements is a very important one. And again, let your tongue help. So your tongue is active inside the mouth. Beautiful. And one final time, everything to the right, eyes first, and then head, and then tongue, and then shoulders and ribs, and maybe one of your knees is moving forward and pelvis is part of this. Great. If not, it's okay. Even just the head and eyes is so good. Beautiful. So now let it go. Rest. If you need to rub your hands, cover your eyes, that would be okay. Rest in sitting for a moment and imagine that very, very quickly we can plug in or apply, integrate these movements in going to the left. Why? Because your brain has two hemispheres and they are connected. So your brain is actively learning both sides, even though we're going only in one direction. So how does it begin? It begins by you noticing that that's possible. And now, to make it even easier, we're going to think about it first. Think about the differences. So we engage our brain in working without even moving. So think about it. What did we do to the right? We're going to do now to the left. So first we looked with our eyes only. So just let's think about it for a moment. We look to the left with the eyes only. Let's imagine what it'd be like. Don't even do it. And let your brain work as if you're an athlete. When you rehearse a movement in your mind, when you rehearse the race, when you rehearse the jump, your brain is doing it. It's a beautiful thing about science. We get to see this now in research. Good. So now think about the difference if your tongue is involved. If your tongue is involved, it feels a little easier. So think about engaging the tongue to the left, inside your mouth, inside the cheek. Your teeth are free. Let's breathe into that. That is interesting. The tongue, huh? Good. And now what if your head would be moved by your hand? What is different about that? So let's think about it. You can place a hand if you need on the forehead to really think it through, but just imagine the hand going first and the eyes jumping forward, left later. And in my imagination, it's not so easy. Maybe in yours this was the easiest option because you're more familiar with it. Think about it and think about adding the tongue to create a little help there. And as you breathe now, do the couple different variations, starting with the easiest one first. So I'm gonna start with my easiest one, which is letting the eyes lead. Eyes to the left, then head, the tongue helps, and back. And by the way, you can let the eyes bring the head back as well. It'll put you in a very peaceful state. And then a couple times with the tongue, eyes to the left, then the head, then the tongue. Notice the gliding on the shoulders that happens when you're seated and how one shoulder moves forward, the other one back. We've done this in other classes. in other sessions. Noticing the shoulder movement when the head turns. Good, and now come back to front, to the center, and just for fun, move the head with the hand to the left, and don't let the eyes move. Just keep them in the front. And notice how restricted that is. The moment your eyes are fixed, it's almost as if passing a little point, you just don't want to go any further. And if you keep going, you have to push. Don't push, just stay there. Just give your brain this information, like, wait, if my eyes are not part of the movement, it's not so easy. Wow, I never noticed that. I do this when I'm cooking all the time. I'm looking at one thing and grabbing another pot, and then this and that. And I think I'm multitasking, but really, what am I doing? I'm creating all this strain for my neck. Good. And now close your eyes, reset, take a breath. And even if you take the head first with the hand, let the eyes be part of it. And now notice that you can suddenly look almost behind you because your eyes are free to move. Now, could this be even easier? Sure. Let the tongue be part of it, your tongue to the left. Can you see the difference? Can you feel the difference? Slowly, as you breathe. So now, even if it's the head first, because your eyes are part of it, because your tongue is part of it, does it change the quality of it? That is the main question here. The range will increase by itself. That's a beautiful thing about these subtle movements. The range just grows, but it's the quality. Does it feel easier? Does your body receive it in a way where if this was the way you do it every day, would it feel okay? Is it sustainable? For example, keeping your eyes fixed in the front is not sustainable because sooner or later it's going to create so much pain in your neck. Yeah? Good. So now one more time, let the eyes lead so you can connect that variation, which is the eyes go first and then the head and then the tongue, and let your shoulders move so everything is turning to the left. You're seated. You may do this a lot when you're driving, by the way, if you drive a car, when you need to keep your body seated forward, right? Your legs are going to stay forward more or less, but your upper body is turning and your head and neck and your eyes are moving. Good. And now one last thing, just because we can, because our eyes are free now, let your head go to the left and the eyes to the right. And you probably don't even need the hand anymore. You can just do it. Yeah, and now let the head go to the right and the eyes go to the left. And if you need your tongue inside your mouth, know that that is definitely a good help because it's turning the spine, the tongue. So if it's challenging in one direction, say not so easy to turn the head to the left and the eyes to the right, well, let the tongue go to the left with the head. And then suddenly the eyes have an easier time going opposite. Our brains are working so hard, I can feel it. Good, and now come back to the center. Rub your hands a little. Cover your eyes. We're almost at the end of the practice, but I want to give you one more movement. So please create a little rest for your eyes by covering. See how dark it's in there right now, how peaceful. If your thoughts are calmer as well, perhaps. Breathe and sense. Great, great, great. And now very, very slowly take your hands down. And now we're seated now. If you can stand up, that would be wonderful. And find a comfortable position in standing and plug this in. Bring it into life. Practices. This is the only way to make something second nature and a new habit is you have to practice it. So now practice in standing. looking around you, scanning the horizon. Eyes first, then head, then tongue to the right once, and gently back. And again, you're moving kind of slowly still. We don't have to lash our necks. We're retraining here. So as if you were teaching a young baby something, a young kid, you don't want to rush them. And then left, eyes first, head, tongue. Let the shoulders be free. And how does it feel? Is it possible to have this way, be one way? And then of course, sometimes we're in a rush and we need to quickly look, so you can do head first and then the eyes, like a hunter. Boom. But do we want to move like that every single time we move the head and whiplash our neck? Every single time we need to turn the head? Not really. So at least 2 options. Hopefully 3. We'll do a third one in a minute. So the eyes first and then the head would be a good one. And then of course sometimes you want to quickly look, so you can whip the head and then let the eyes jump. Boom. And then the third one is definitely with the tongue, because we know the tongue helps. So either of those with the tongue is easier. So try it out. Of course, you may not want to do this all the time in public, but do we want to use our tongue more often for this to be possible? Yeah, so we practice it. Now, come back to the center, please. You can play with this during the day, later today, tomorrow. Important is to practice this as we are walking. And in walking, what tends to happen is that we tend to, like I said at the beginning, fall down. So, can you look down? We spent 40 minutes decoupling the head and the eyes to the right and to the left. And I'm going to leave you with this task. We're going to do it once or twice together. Can you keep your head forward and look down? Can you keep your head upright and look down? Right? And then you can look down with the head and with the eyes together. So the same practice, right? Instead of left and right, up and down. So you can look down with the eyes and let the head go with it. Or you can just look down, but let the head stay forward. Say you're walking around the home and there's no evident holes on the ground. You're not going to fall anywhere. So can you trust yourself to walk around your house and look down with the eyes only and not the whole head? And if you are able to do that, immediately the first thing you notice is you can breathe. Because when you look down and your head falls down, your abdomen contracts and your breath gets compromised. So slowly now practice that. Maybe take a couple steps. You're walking around, you're looking down. There's no holes or anything that you're going to trip on. So you can trust that you're not going to fall. This is why we look down, because we think we're going to fall and we don't want to fall. So stand and remind yourself of the practice. You can look down and separate your eyes from your head. And if that's too challenging, do it to the right or to the left, because that's a lot easier, safer. We do this so many times a day when we're looking around us. Good. And now come back. Take a moment. Maybe it's easier even for you to look down and move your head up, because that's more familiar than looking up. Keep your eyes on your nose. In any case, at some point you definitely want to walk around, even outside, keeping your head up, your head forward, as if you're hanging off of an imaginary string, and your eyes can look down, can spot danger on the ground. Just your eyes. Just your eyes. And you keep your spine upright, and you're going to feel the difference in length and the width of your shoulders, in the contraction of your belly. so you can take deeper breaths. Thank you so much for your practice today. I really appreciate you, and I hope it helps you learn one or two things that you can apply daily so they become part of your new habits. And the purpose of these sessions is to serve you and to allow you to integrate little things one at a time. So please keep that in mind as you do this again, baby steps. And I hope to see you again in the next practice.